Good evening and welcome. We welcome our students, faculty, staff, administration, alumni, trustees, our sisters, benefactors, friends, and guests. In the winter of 2006, Joan and I were invited by a trustee to attend a play at a community playhouse in Naples, Florida. It was a one-woman production with a gifted actress telling the story of Immaculée Ilibagiza. It moved me deeply. The book, Left to Tell, was on sale after the production, and I purchased a copy. If you have read the book, you know it is difficult to put down. It is an inspiring story of faith and forgiveness, courage and prayer. When I returned from Naples, I gave the book to Rick Kite and asked if he might explore inviting Immaculée or Leslie, the actress, to come to campus for the theatrical production. Enter Daryl Klott. Before we knew it, Immaculée was scheduled for September 22nd, 2008. So I first want to thank Daryl for her tenaciousness and hard work in arranging this visit, along with Rick Kite, director of our D.B. Reinhart Institute for Ethics and Leadership, and others who planned this special day at Viterbo. I also wish to thank our benefactors who support the Institute and make such presentations possible. Please join me in thanking them. Most importantly, the university thanks Immaculée for the gift of her presence, for the gift of her story, for the gift of her faith. As we gather as a community of faith, let us invite the blessings of our Creator God to be in our presence tonight. We offer our gratitude for those such as Immaculée, who show us how to suffer and endure loss, who teach us how to forgive and accept forgiveness, who inspire us to be better human beings. In his simplicity, St. Francis demonstrated the joy of living a gospel life, a life of sacrifice and prayer. And in her remarkable and unimaginable confinement, Immaculée demonstrated the awesome power of abundant prayer. It is my prayer that each of us will listen well to her story so that we may be example to others, so that we too may find strength and courage to forgive, that we too can be messengers of hope for all of God's children. Please join me in welcoming Daryl Klott, who will introduce our speaker.
Thank you and good evening. First of all, an announcement. This evening's presentation will be rebroadcast on WKBT, and you can go to the Ethics Institute website and get the schedule. It will be, I think it's early Sunday morning, so you can set your VCRs. Or, you still use those? VCRs. Okay. I am Daryl Klott, and I am a Holocaust educator. 2 years ago, almost to this day, on September 27th, 2006, Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel stood on this stage and addressed our community. If you were in the audience that night, you heard me say that I asked the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, who have been praying around the clock for 130 years, to pray that Professor Wiesel would remain in good health so he could come to La Crosse. Their prayers worked. When Immaculée Ilibagiza accepted our invitation to come and speak to us tonight, the thought crossed my mind that perhaps I should ask the sisters for prayer, but I dismissed the notion because, after all, she's fit and healthy. Then it occurred to me that I should cover all the bases and not take any chances. So I asked the sisters to pray that she would remain healthy so she could come to us tonight. And as you will see very shortly, the prayers worked. After I read Immaculée's book, Left to Tell, I knew that we had to bring her to Viterbo to speak to our community. I marveled on her focus on forgiveness. How, I wondered, could she possibly forgive her family's murderers? These murderers, in a ghastly echo of the Nazi Holocaust, included former friends, fellow students, and even a teacher. Immaculée is a messenger of her experience. giving talks around the United States and the world about forgiveness and reconciliation. As a Holocaust educator, I am appalled at the similarities between the Holocaust that took place from 1933 to 1945 and the Rwandan genocide in 1994. Did our world not learn any lessons from that dreadful time nearly 50 years earlier? Elie Wiesel stood on this stage and told us that genocide is not inevitable, but has occurred because individuals made personal decisions to act or not to act. We must encourage people to respect, appreciate, and accept people's differences and not be bystanders. Shortly, you will hear Immaculée describe what happened when bystanders allowed over 800,000 Tutsis to be slaughtered by Hutus in Rwanda in a 100-day period. When it was over, 3 out of every 4 Tutsis had been murdered. Immaculée's first book, Left to Tell, Discovering God Amidst the Rwandan Holocaust, was released in March 2006 and quickly became a New York Times bestseller. It has been translated into 19 languages worldwide. Her story has also been made into a documentary titled The Diary of Immaculée. She has appeared in numerous media, including 60 Minutes, CNN, EWTN, The New York Times, USA Today, Newsday, and many other domestic and international outlets. She was featured in Michael Kolopi's Architects of Peace project, which has honored legendary people like Mother Teresa, Jimmy Carter, Nelson Mandela, and the Dalai Lama. Immaculée has received numerous honorary degrees, including doctoral degrees from Notre Dame and St. John's University. She's been recognized and honored with numerous humanitarian awards, including the Mahatma Gandhi International Award for Reconciliation and Peace in 2007. She was a finalist as one of BeliefNet.com's Most Inspiring People of the Year 2006, and was a recipient of the American Legacy's Women of Strength and Courage Award. Left to Tell has been adopted into the curriculums of dozens of high schools and universities. Immaculée recently hosted a documentary titled Ready to Forgive, An African Story of Grace, a project sponsored by the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. The film focuses on the Acholi people of northern Uganda and their desire to forgive their tormentors. Ready to Forgive has been broadcast on NBC and the Hallmark Channel. Immaculée recently signed a contract with M-Power Pictures to produce a major motion picture about her story. They are now in the process of developing a screenplay. Immaculée's newest book, Led by Faith, the story of her life after the genocide, was released just 7 days ago on September 16th. Today, Immaculée is regarded as one of the world's leading speakers on peace, faith, and forgiveness. She has shared her universal message with world dignitaries, school children, churches, multinational corporations, and this evening, we are honored that she will share it with us. Tonight, you will touch the past, for you will see and hear history from one who has lived it. But first, join me as we watch a clip from the Diary of Immaculée.
I never surrendered to death. Somehow I felt like I must live. And I prayed, God, if you are there, please keep them away. Please don't let them find us. I can't even tell you how much fear you feel when you know that they can get us any minute. They had machetes, each one. They have long spears. We knew there was problems between the two tribes, but I never expected a genocide, a Holocaust to happen. We stayed in that bathroom for 3 months and never found us. My name is Immaculée, and it is time to go back to my country, my village, my home, and tell my story. I was born in Rwanda. Rwanda is a tiny country located in the Central Africa. It was and still is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Very green and perfect tropical weather. My village was in Kibuye. Our house was on a hill that overlooked Lake Kivu. My mom and dad were teachers. They were very good parents who were very respected in the village. In my family, we were 4 children. I was one girl among 3 boys. We loved each other a lot. We were very protective until the last time we separated. I remember when we were in primary school, we all used to go to swim in the morning with my brothers and my father. My mother would always stay home. She never liked to swim. The memories I have are of neighbors who were like parents to us. We knew there were problems between the Hutus and Tutsis, but we never thought they could do us any harm. When I was in school in 1994, it was time for Easter holiday.
There was a rebellion going on, an ethnically based rebellion in Rwanda.
Right after the holiday, I had an exam, really an important exam.
The regime in Rwanda that was responsible for the genocide was a criminal regime. It operated according to the logic of criminal gangs.
So I wrote to my parents and I told them I wanted to stay in school to prepare for my exam.
And the aim of the military dictatorship was to preserve power by eliminating that rebellion.
My father said, "We miss you, and you have been away so much, away from us." So I went home.
And it mobilized Hutu gangs known as the Interahamwe militias by stoking their fear of Tutsis based on a history of Tutsi domination and exploitation going back to the Belgian colonial era.
Easter vacation that year changed everything in my life. The president's plane was shut down and the genocide began.
The 2 leaders died after attending peace talks aimed at ending decades of tribal conflict in the 2 countries. President Habyarimana of Rwanda and President Ntaryamira of Burundi were killed when their plane came down near the Rwandan capital, Kigali. Both were members of the majority Hutu tribe.
When the president's plane was shot down, it just was chaos. Within less than an hour, you started to hear the gunfire in your own neighborhood, right up close to you. Before, it was always kind of far away, and it's like it just spread everywhere.
And it was a very well-organized program of genocide. It had been established before the plane went down, and it was just waiting for this event or an event like it to click into motion.
These people had lists They had lists of people that had to be killed, and then it became crazy.
And I remember my father telling me, we are worried that you might get raped, and we are worried that we can't help you.
They were going home to home, neighborhood to neighborhood, breaking down doors, hacking people to death. Some of the names of Tutsis were being broadcast on the radio.
It is my great honor to introduce Immaculée Ilibagiza.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for a nice welcome. My God, I didn't know there are people there. This is a nice room. And then those like the stars. Thank you so much for being here. It is really, despite the horror and the horrible story of the genocide, and I can still feel joy to be here and to see how many people are willing to listen to this horrible story. You know, I remember 14 years ago, sitting in the bathroom and asking myself when I saw things were happening beyond anything I ever thought about, like, you know, am I ever going to find anybody to talk to tell people what happened? You know, the side of grace, just to see how God can be there in the darkness, even just to see what a human being is capable of doing. Am I going to find people to share the story with? But I didn't know I will leave even for the next 1 hour. So for me to be here and to share my story is just a dream come true, and I'm very, very thankful to you. I know it is not an easy story to hear, but it is a story that have taught me a lot about life, have taught me a lot about, you know, what can happen in our world, and have taught me a lot about, you know, virtue like forgiveness, you know, and this is really maybe the main thing that makes me speak around and share my story. It's especially people who have come around, and thousands of people actually maybe by now, sending us messages, telling us how my story have helped them to let go the anger they had, to live a much better life because we can put things in perspective and they can accept their lives. I used to work at the United Nations, and before my book came out, and I would always find a day and time to go in somebody else's office who is not feeling okay, you know, somebody who is crying because somebody doesn't like them and because they didn't get a promotion. And I would just think about what have happened to me, and I would go in and knock the door and share my story with the person. And at the end, somebody would always end up smiling and cleaning the tears and always saying, oh my God, it can be worse. Your story, no matter how horrible it is, at least make us realize that there's more things to worry about in life. And if it is one thing I would love to accomplish during my lifetime, just to make another person, through my story, realize that there's so much to be grateful about, and just be strong enough and work for the peace in our world, because it is possible. The people who hate, they accomplish because they have passion about it. And the people who love, people who want peace, they can accomplish as much. And we truly can do it. And there's good in people. People can change. There's not such a person as just evil. We do evil things, but we are good people deep down. So it is my joy to share my story. There's somebody who came to me and told me that after listening to my story, he was able to forgive somebody he was angry with for the past 54 years. And another one told me he was angry with somebody in a family member for the past 20 years. And no one ever comes to me and tell me, hey, I was able to do such a great thing, I'm a hero. It is more everyone comes and say, finally I can find peace. Finally, all this bitterness I've been carrying, now I can find peace. Of course, it doesn't go well all the time. Somebody who became my friend after, she told me one time, she said, after I read your book, I left my boyfriend. I'm like, what happened? What did I write that make you leave anybody you love? But later she explained to me, she told me, she said, the only thing that kept me with the person he lived with, she said it was the things we bought together. So I was curious. I'm like, what was so, expensive that you wanted to stay there because of those things? She said, we bought the couch together. And I didn't want to be the one to lose it. And we had a camera we bought together. I didn't want to be the one to lose it. And she told me, after I read your book, I just realized that you can lose things as long as you don't lose your soul. It is all that matters. And she got up and left. She said 2 years after, she had maybe 10 times more than what she had left. And she realized that she was being there, making somebody else's life miserable just because of the couch. So it is my joy to share. As you saw in the documentary, the whole genocide story, it really started a long time at the time of colonialization. The Belgians colonized our country. And I'm not saying this to put Belgians in a group. And if there is one thing I think is a huge mistake in life, is when we put the people in boxes, and generalize people because they come from this place, because they are this type of people. And we end up hating groups of people, and it is hard to be objective and judge a situation as it is. So the group of the Belgians that was in our country, they divided, for some political reasons, a country in two tribes. Sometimes when you have problems in your own country, you can't believe what can cause such hatred in another place. But as the way they divided Tutsi and Hutus, the tall people became Tutsis, and the shorter people became Hutus, even if you were brothers. And they measured the size of the nose, and people became different tribes because of how they look, but they really look alike. And in Rwanda, there have been a lot of intermarriages, so it's very hard to divide who is Tutsi and who is a Hutu. But that was really the origin. And whoever was there, with whatever intention he had, he played on two parts of the two tribes they have just been created to kind of compete against the two, against each other. And from there came a little bit of hatred. And they had to give identity cards that said if you are Tutsi or a Hutu, so that people will know who they are. I was one of the victims of ignorant people who didn't know that I was a Tutsi, because in my family they didn't discuss anything about that. Remember one time I was in school in the 4th grade. I remember that when I spoke to students this morning. I was in 4th grade, 11 years old, still don't even know which tribe I came from. I remember they had a policy to make people know each other every single week in school. From the time you are 7 years old, you have to stand up to register again and again every single week, Tutsis and Hutus. So I used to stand up among Hutus and Tutsis as long as I have a friend who came from the other tribe. And one time I stood up twice because I had both friends, Hutu and Tutsi. And my teacher was so mad at me in a way that I never even thought. And he sent me outside of the class. I spent the whole afternoon outside crying. And he was so mad that what I can remember, just his face, that I was so mad. The evening I went home and I told my parents what happened. And I can remember my dad just eyes becoming red. And he couldn't even eat again. We were on the dining table and he said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, can you just tell me if I'm a Tutsi or Hutu? It must be easy." And my dad told me, he said, "I will talk to him tomorrow." I didn't have any idea what was attached to those words. I remember the next day at school, my dad came and took the teacher outside, and they were talking through the window, and I can see they are kind of mad. Still no one told me who I was. All I remember is the next day when we stood up in the class, the teacher told me to stand up with Tutsis. In the first place, I thought it was a cute name. Just to be Tutsi. And all of a sudden, we started to stand up as 2 people or 3 people among 46 Hutus. And even that, they have so many things they did so that they can register very few Tutsis, so they will keep them like a minority. So many people will become a Hutus, so that, or even the Tutsis, they won't register them, so that they can have it like the Tutsis are very little, a small number. And slowly, students started to laugh at us. You know, you stand up, and all of a sudden, all the students, very young, they will point fingers to us like, she's a Tutsi. And a new student will be there, like everyone will be laughing at them. And I developed slowly that knowledge of who I was and how shameful it must be to be a Tutsi. So in 1994, I had friends like from all the tribes. And my village was really a village, I think everywhere in the country, people loved each other. And as you see, or you have saw the history of the genocide, there is no genocide that happened without the propaganda of the leaders of the country. There's no people who hate each other enough to get up in the morning and start killing each other. There's always that propaganda. So in 1994, they were doing that. They just wanted to kill Tutsis, because especially most of the Tutsis they have killed, they have sent away, who have gone away as refugees, they wanted to come back inside. And they have not allowed them to come in, so they had to force them. They were forcing to come in from Uganda. And in Rwanda inside, they took a decision to kill everyone so that they will not find their brothers and sisters if they ever come back. So in that year, I was in school, at university, again, like from my blind way of seeing things, I was just like understanding with each other, with everyone. And I went home for Easter holiday at the request of my parents, who insisted that I come home. Thank God. And those are the things that make me feel like, why did you even leave me? Why did you do all these things to leave me behind? Everybody I left in the school, 700 to 800 students, they were all killed 3 weeks after I left. So I went home, and when I got there, Easter happened, we were all happy in the family, and I never forgot, like that clear cut that completely changed your life around. The minute I got to know what was, the genocide have just started, I was sleeping, and my brother came to me in the morning, 6 o'clock, and he came to me and he opened the door quick, and I'm like, what are you doing in my room? And he told me, he said, you don't know what happened. I said, what? The president of the country died. So the president, the story is that he was okay that they killed Tutsis, but he was not okay that his friends planned to kill everyone. Because he knew it was going to be on his name. They have made lists everywhere, but they knew that if they start, he would stop them at one time. So they had to kill him for them to really accomplish to eliminate every Tutsi in the country. So I remember just like, oh my God, it was a moment I said, we are just going to die. They used to have a radio they call hate radio, that used to say how one day they're going to kill Tutsis. But again, like we never thought like they can ever accomplish that. They prepared it for a whole year in the whole country. We used to have only 2 channels in the country, one national radio, and then one that was private, was completely insulting Tutsis. And we just like looked down, we never looked up, and it was, you just knew they would insult you, you would smile and just move on. I got up from the bed and I put on the clothes, those clothes I put on that morning, I remained with the same clothes for the next 6 months. I came out, I met my parents outside, everyone is sitting outside, we don't know what's going on to happen. And they had an announcement on radio the person who have just replaced the president, that every activity should stop in the country. No schools was going on, no market, nothing. Not even a church was going on. It was just like they said everyone should stay home. And of course, again, like we don't know what next is going to happen. And I remember about 2 hours after we got the news, BBC reported, we were able to capture BBC. BBC reported that 18 families in the country have just been, killed. And that is really when we started to suspect that this is like a genocide. This is eliminating. Why are they killing families like 7 children and mom and dad? It became really scary. My parents were just worried. So around about the second day, we were just still sitting down and lying down there sleeping. We had so many people around my home. And my parents were people. I thank God for that. And I believe everyone had a purpose. Maybe that was theirs. They cared so much about the whole village. They were much better off. My dad was a director of Catholic schools, and my mom was a teacher. So they were much more better than many people who were very poor. So they always cared about everybody. I remember nights where people would be knocking the door for my dad. He had a car to drive a pregnant woman to the hospital, somebody who is sick. The discussions we had around our dining table was always about who next to help, if we can help them to build their home, and when they get to the windows, they can ask the other people to help. It was always like, who is the child who needs to go to school? They can try to find money to give them and to go to school. It was always the concerns of the whole village. But I never knew that people really got it, that they cared. So people were coming around like, what can we do? You must know what is going on. And they were burning houses all around. And I remember looking across the valley, and I saw for the first time somebody like chopping another person with the machete. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what's going on in our country where everybody loved each other? It was midday. I remember my dad came to me and he told me, he said, things are really getting bad and I think you should go to hide. I didn't want to go. I told him, what if something happens to you? He said, all of us, your brothers, your mom, everyone wants you to go. You are a girl. I was one girl among 3 brothers. Anything can happen to you. You can't run. We are strong. Everyone wants you to go. Otherwise, we won't be at peace. I remember again, I tried to argue. My dad told me, look, I am your father, and I'm asking you to just go. This is out of love. And I just said, okay, Dad, I will leave if you say so. And it is really out of obedience. I just kept quiet. I said, okay, I will go. And I remember when I was separating him, he handed me a rosary. I grew up as a Catholic, and I'm a Catholic, I believe in God. And he handed me a rosary, red and white. And that was the last words we exchanged. And I left, I just looked back, and something is telling me, this is the last time you see them. And another thing is telling me, just move on, move on. You don't even know where you will be in 1 hour. I never thought that we can have that capacity actually of putting off our pain, putting it to hold. You can suffer later, you can cry later. That was almost like, just hold on, you will have time, but go. I went to this man who was a Protestant pastor. I got there. I was very worried, remembering his face. He said, you guys, we're going to kill you. They have been saying it, we're going to kill you. I just, oh my goodness, what did we do? You just feel like, I was born like this. I didn't want to be. I wish there was something I could have done to change. But why would anyone want to kill me for something I don't even know how it happened to me? Anyway, I remember I went to his home, and around 3 o'clock in the morning, he came to take me from the house, one room, and took me throughout the house with a torch, and he showed me a small bathroom, 3 by 4 feet, and he told me to sit there. He went back, brought 5 more women. Later he went back, he brought 2 more women. I don't know where he was getting them from the house. And we were 8 people in the beginning in that small bathroom. The youngest was 7 years old, and she was just sitting on our lap. She couldn't even find a space to sit. Again, he told us, we are sitting there, we're looking at each other. What is going on? Is everyone going crazy? Like we see some evil we don't see? And I remember he told us not to speak to each other, not even to flush the water of the bathroom. until somebody else is flushing the water of the bathroom in the next bathroom. This was the only home in the whole village that had 2 bathrooms in one home. And later I got to know that that home was given to the pastor as a gift. And even that, sometimes I think, like, God, did you give him a gift so that later you can save me from that bathroom? And later he even told us, what amazed me more, that before we came there to hide, somebody have just given that pastor almost $2,000 US to go to visit them in Europe. And they gave him cash to buy a ticket. So he told us, really, he said, if I didn't have this money, somebody have just handed me, like 2 weeks before you come here, I would not have had the courage to have 8 people in my home. But I just thought that I owe something. So we sat there. The first week was horrible. It was not easy. You know, when you go through something you can't accept, it is so hard, it is so painful. But there is a grace in accepting. And not accepting like it's okay, come and beat me, but it's like, what can I do? More than, how can this happen to me? So the first week was more like, me who had everything, and my home and my parents, everyone protected me, and I'm sleeping in a bathroom? How can this happen? I had my own room. It's like you think of yourself, this queen or princess who untouched, How can this happen to me? Me who never ate bad food. Now I started to eat garbage food from the pastor's children, what they were eating, because he couldn't even tell his own children that were there. And rightly so, because he said, you never know what can happen in times like that. Anyone can go and give a news somewhere, and they can come and kill you. So he had to hide food and pick up the garbage food. It was so hard just to live in that bitterness of, why me? How this can happen? And I started to get so angry that I felt like I couldn't even take it anymore. I remember times when I couldn't even remember how to smile again. Where you feel like the muscles in your face have twisted because of the anger. I had so many bad ideas in my mind. I was just becoming more, maybe just like the killers. I thought about maybe one thing that can give me justice, just so that they can know what they are doing to us, would be like to put maybe a bomb under the ground and blow up the whole country. So at least all of us can suffer the same. I went through that anger that, when you are angry, you can be very creative. You think about things as though like you have all the power. I remember thinking like, I can be like Rambo and then shoot everybody. Then I can see myself really almost like flying over and I shoot every Hutus. And of course, at the end, I will be like sweating out of anger. And I will realize that, I don't even know how to shoot. I don't even have a gun. And here I am, I'm like killing people. That's how angry I was. Towards the end of the week, I felt like I can't take this much anymore. Maybe I should try to find out from the pastor to tell us what is going on in the country. And I think that was maybe a voice of God. I remember asking the pastor to put a radio outside so we can hear what is going on. And I couldn't believe what was going on in the country when I heard the radio, the national radio. The radio that used to tell us how to love each other, to care, to be a good citizen, is to care for a neighbor. All of a sudden, they were telling people, go and kill all the Tutsis. It was nothing they were hiding. The guy who was in the UN, who was the head of the UN, was Romeo Dallaire, he was there and they took all the soldiers away from him to do anything. But if they really have left few people, he could have stopped it just through the radio alone. He could have done something. So, because these things were so exposed, they were saying it on radio. It wasn't anything that was hidden. Like how people do evil stuff, it was open. They said how on radio they have killed tons of people, thousands of Tutsis who have run to stadiums, thousands of Tutsis who have run to churches. Now they are going to start searching every Hutu home to see if there is anyone hiding. I couldn't believe, I remember this guy who was a government minister, he said on radio, and he was the father of one of my girlfriend. He said, a child of a cockroach is a cockroach. A child of a snake is a snake. The same thing they used to do to Jewish people, to call them names. And that's what we do when we want to minimize the humanity of another person. They're not humans. He said, a child of a snake is a snake. Don't forget the children. Eliminate everyone. And then they started to search after they have killed people like that in public places. And I never forgot one time when I was stretching and I saw something I thought was like 1,000 killers. They came inside the house through the little window. I saw them through the little window. They were dressed in banana leaves, really trying to look like the evils. Each simple, small village had about 300 killers, strong men, neighbors, people I knew, people I went to school with. Every village had people like that were going home by home, searching, being, fed by the government. They were sending them drinks, giving them meat and food, paid money, and they would go by home to see if there is anyone hiding. They were determined to completely eliminate. I remember when a guy was standing outside of the bathroom and he said, I have killed 399 cockroaches, and I want Immaculée to be the 400. Then I can stop. That guy was my schoolmate in elementary school. He was a nice person. He was a neighbor. He was a friend. And you think like, what happened to you? What is going on in the mind of people? It was really beyond anything you can think. That time, the first time they came inside, and I can't even put it in words. What you can feel when you know that somebody who is looking for you to kill you is right next door. It is hard to imagine that there can be any miracle that they won't find you. My human imagination was, this is a 4-bedroom house. How 300 people can miss one door? It is impossible. And it's so funny how I think we all have those little voices. One is telling you how the reality is that you're going to fall into this abyss and you are done, life is over. And there's always that little voices also that tells you, you will be okay. Trust in God. Do something. That voice that uplifts you, really encourages you to think beyond that. And then I remember something was telling me in my mind, why don't you pray to God to ask him to protect you? And I was like, he doesn't. God, where is he? And the other voice was almost telling me, God doesn't exist. And I believed him. Where is he in that kind of situation? And the other voice was like, why don't you ask him to give you a sign that maybe he's there? And it was almost like a choice you have to make. I remember asking, just like taking the decision to believe the other one, God, and I said a prayer, if you are there, if you exist, please don't let the killers find the door of the bathroom. And if we don't find it, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to try to know who you are. Just this desperate prayer where I feel like I'm such a hating person inside, but I'm begging God to help me out. They came inside. They searched every single place you can imagine. In the ceiling, under the beds, on the top of the house. They even opened suitcases to see if there's any baby hiding. After 2 hours of searching this small house everywhere, all around, and removing the carpet to see if there is any hole under, they came to the bathroom, and they touched the door of the bathroom, the handle. And before they opened it, they told the pastor who was hiding us, they told him, you know what? We trust you. There's no way you can hide these cockroaches. We trust you. And they went back. The pastor was hiding us. He was just like fainting. He knew that was it. It was a matter of seconds. And he saw them going. I remember when he came to us 3 hours after, he told us, he said, I don't know what you are praying, whatever you are doing, keep doing it. He said, I can't understand why they won't find the door of the bathroom. They won't open it. And of course, we didn't have the right to speak, but I remember asking the pastors, like, do you have a Bible? Just at least to try to know, who is that God? Who is that God I have learned in my family, but I didn't understand really? I think I prayed because of my family, not for me. And I started to pray. And everything I was reading about in the Bible was forgiveness. And of course, anytime I go to that word forgiveness, I would close the page and go to the next page. And I will end up finding the love, and almost like the picture of the killers will come in my face, like love. I love them too. And like, no, I can't love them. I will close that page and go to the next one, and I will be fighting with just those words of forgiving. You can't forgive. I know, God, I need you bad. And I remember they came to search many more times. And anytime they came, there's no one there will ever be like strong, like, oh, they won't find us. I will completely lose my mind. Like, oh my God, they're going to find us. And I will start to beg God again. I know you are there now. Please don't let them find us. And I remember one time like an inspiration came to me, and I asked the pastor to push the wardrobe in front of the door of the bathroom, and he did push it. So the next time they came, they even searched inside the wardrobe. And I truly believe it was an inspiration from God that he pushed it there. And I prayed, I'm like, God, don't let them find the door, don't let them find us. And they went inside there. And I kept praying. And I remember in time they came to search, somehow I would jump to this conclusion like, I forgive them. I forgive them. It's okay. And anytime they left, the hatred would come right back, and I would feel the anger, and I would like, I think I made a mistake. I think I lied. I can't forgive that. I can't forgive them. Then I kept praying, but I had that question in my mind. Why? Anytime they come here, I forgive them, and when they go, I hate them again. So I realized that maybe there's something about this forgiving. Those who know about the rosary, which is really, to me, the summary of the Bible, is known as a Christian thing, anyone who believes in Christ, and it is a prayer that you say like in 15 minutes. I started to say the rosary from morning until night. And I remember one time I counted, how much am I doing? I prayed 27 rosaries every single day, and 40 Divine Mercy Chaplet every single day. So I prayed from like 6 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night when I closed my eyes. And I really felt busy, like I was doing something. And that held my mind. But you know, when you pray again, you can't escape the word, forgive, forgive. I remember I said Our Lord's Prayer, which I said maybe 200 times in a day. And I remember being stuck on those words, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I knew that there's no way I can forgive. I think I had a great reason to hate them. And I decided to take that part of the prayer out of the prayer. Instead of saying it and continue to like God, whom now I know that he listens to our thoughts. He knows everything, and I need him so much. So the best I can do at least was to be sincere. So I said, okay, I can't say that part, I don't mean it. I took it off, and I would just say the rest of it. And I remember, you can't escape the truth. The truth is like oil mixing water with oil. No matter how you mix it, you think you have the right mind about it. After time, it just like the oil will separate from the water slowly. And then you realize, okay, I get it. And one time I remember it was almost like a voice telling me, I hope you know that our Lord's Prayer, if you believe in him as God, is not man-made. So don't try to edit his prayer. If you believe in him as Almighty, who knows everything, it was almost like, oh, I can't take it. It's not fair. I'm not going to say things I don't mean. But then something told me, why don't you surrender? Why do you have to do it yourself? Why don't you hand it to him? Then it won't be your business. If he fails you, if you can't forgive, it will be him failing, not you. I said, that is a good idea. I can say this laughing, but that time it was like I was completely into this. And I remember coming on my knees, and in my heart, I didn't have a place to kneel down. But I came to my knees, I said, God, if you know that there is a way to forgive these people, help me out. And good luck. Because I don't think there's a way to do it. Give a challenge to God. He will find a way to overcome and to triumph always. I kept praying now. I said the prayer. I took back the part. Anytime I go there, I'm like, it's not me. If you can't make me forgive. But I remember one time I was praying, and I remember thinking of Christ and when he was on the cross and he was dying, and the words he said, you know, it was like, "Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they do." And I started to think about, what does it mean? Whoever was there was killing him. What happened? I mean, if you talk to Muslims today, anyone who doesn't believe in him as Christ, anyone will tell you that whoever killed him, really, he did not do anything to deserve to be crucified. So, and for me, for him to say they don't know what they do, is because they did not know him. They didn't know that who he was. The truth he said, at least for me who believe in him in Christ, as God. Then I started somehow like to compare it with my situation. So the killers who are killing us, they don't get the consequences that will come to the whole country, the consequences that will come to their children, to their families, to the whole world because of their wrongdoings. And somehow, me who was suffering, I can see that this can never end in peace. They were saying on radio how they will live in a paradise after they have eliminated everybody. But I knew that that was not the truth. At the end, the truth will come out. Who have you seen living in a paradise after hurting people, after killing people? I tell you the truth. You can never go wrong by loving somebody. You can never go wrong by caring for somebody. You can never be late for a meeting. If you are caring for somebody you meet on the road, even if you are late, it will be a blessing. But you will always go wrong by hurting somebody. At the end, no matter how justified you feel, if you are pushed by anger to hurt somebody for the intention of hurting somebody, one day will come when you will regret it. And for me, it was so clear. I think it's Mother Teresa who said that understanding all is forgiving all. For me, it was all I had on my shoulder, the anger I had, all the evil plans I had, almost like fell off my shoulder. From the moment I understand that, they don't get it. The anger have blinded them so much that they cannot get everything they're doing and how it is going to play out. These people have not accepted that they may be going to spend their lives in prison. They just hope for something great that will never come. It was really almost like I saw the world almost like divided in two parts, love and hate, and violence and peace. And it's almost like I had to choose a path to belong to. If I choose to belong to peace, then I have to be the peaceful person who have to pray for those people to change, to want to change, not to go to kill them and hurt their children, how they have been doing to us. It was just like a life-saving way of thinking about that. And I was okay for justice to go on. I am okay to this day for justice to go on. I think justice well done is really a form of forgiving. It's a form of love, a forgiving, because if you help another person to see the truth, so that he will not infect even their children, if you can help another person, other generations, to see that that is wrong, you are saving the world. So justice for me, to that point, to this day, it's okay. And you can still forgive anyway. And my forgiving came to me like, not like, come here, let's hug each other, let's forget about what you did. It was more that the bitterness I had left me. And to me, to this day, the way I understand forgiving is being able to think of those people with compassion, being able to think of them with care, being able to bless them, to want them to change, those who have hurt you, to want them to see the truth, to be able to wish their children to have a good life, to be able to pity what they have done, even them, the trouble they have put themselves into. And then there is pardon. For reconciliation to happen, somebody have to ask for apology. And that belongs to the person who have done wrong. And then there's forgiving is done by the person who have been wronged. And those two together can make reconciliation. And that is what is going on in our country today, trying to find reconciliation, to try to get somebody to apologize for what they have done. But forgiving, I will tell anyone who have been hurt, please search for it. Ask for help, because it is bitterness, it's being double victim. You are a victim by the wrongdoing of another person, and then you have to carry that bitterness. I thought if it was only lesson I had to learn in that bathroom that maybe made me go there, it would be all that maybe I had to learn, it would be enough. We ended up staying in that bathroom for 3 months, from April to July. Those who know my story, when I was able to let go of that anger, I started to see that I will have a life. I started to learn English. I started to feel that I will work at United Nations with an international organization. I knew that I will be a person. I will share my story. But I couldn't think that before I was able to let go of the anger I had. I felt beautiful, even if I was decaying. When I came outside, the people who were killing have run away from the country, and the good guys who were trying to save the country, they have won the war. And when I came out, it was peaceful now. I was 65 pounds. I was completely a skeleton. And the first night I came out, I found out that everybody in my family was killed. My mom was killed, my dad, my 2 brothers, my aunts, my uncles, my neighbors, friends, schoolmates. 1 million people in a country small as Maryland State was killed in a period of 3 months. Everywhere was dead bodies. Everywhere was dogs eating dead bodies. It was birds just like eating dead bodies. The whole country was smelling. It was something that you just only maybe read in the book of Revelation. I couldn't figure out if it was real. Am I dreaming? Am I going to wake up and find my parents next door, next room? Is this a dream? Is it a nightmare? Have it happened to anybody else? And in my country, they never allowed us to learn about the Holocaust. Of course, they knew what we were preparing. And I really applaud you for trying to know what happened to other countries. I was completely lost. Didn't know if this have ever happened to anybody. And I remember something was in my heart, and I felt like there was like a giant hand that was holding me strong and telling me, don't worry, be strong. The same God you have been praying to is here with you. He will continue to be with you. I don't know how this can help anyone. I share my story with different people, but I remember I had a dream that completely left a stamp on my heart. I had a dream of Jesus one night, and he came to me and he said, my child, that was before I even came out of the bathroom. He said, when you come out, everyone will be dead in your family. But if you continue to trust me, if you continue to love and to forgive and to hold on to me, I will be with you. I will do even more than what your parents would have been able to do for you. And of course I was like, no, my parents cannot die. But when I came out, the dream was true. Everyone was gone. But no matter how I tried to crash and cry and go crazy, I would feel like that hand was still holding me. Don't do it. Don't let it go. Don't give up. Be strong. Look up to the future. Life will end. Everyone dies at the end of the day. Sometimes in life, we all live to die. But there is eternity. And to me, to this day, I feel like life is like a blink. But we have so much to accomplish. And so much good to do. And there's no one thing good you will do that will be forgiven, will be forgotten. When I think about my family today, the house they built, the diplomas they got, which they are all worth it to work for to this day. But those are not the things that I remember. The things I remember is when my mom gave her clothes to somebody, a neighbor who needed it. I remember when somebody was crying and my mom held her. Those are the things that make me proud today, that I think I give to other people. The night my dad couldn't sleep because I was sick, and he spent the night in the living room just finding out if I'm okay. Are you okay? When he rushed in the morning taking me to the hospital. Those actions of love, they are never forgotten. And maybe they are the real thing. Otherwise, what do we live for, really? So many things have happened after the genocide, at least in my life, that still to this day shows me that God is there. And no matter how deep you can suffer, there is always hope that we should never give up. I found a home to go to live to. I was normally living in a camp, sleeping on the ground. And I was praying to God, looking at the stars and asking God, are you there? I need a bed. And I think we all need to ask. Simply, I need a bed. I can't continue to sleep on the ground. And one day, not a week after, not too long after, like a week after, a lady, a handicapped lady, God will always show up in disguise among those we disrespect, among those we think they are not enough, among those we think they're incapable. A handicapped lady came to me pulling her chair, and she told me, I'm going to take you to my house. She didn't have legs. And in my mind, I'm like, you need me. I have to be the one to help you. You can't be the one to take me to your home. Do you even have a home? She said, I knew your mother. Your mother gave me school fees when I was a child. And I'm going to offer you a home. I live in the city. At least you can find a job. I said no, because I thought, I don't even know this person. The next day she came back, she said, I know why you don't want to come. I saw with so many children, and you think they're going to give you a life. But for the sake of your mother, I will take anybody to my home so that you can feel safe. And I told her, I thought I was discouraging her. I said, I have 9 friends. You can't take all of us. You live in the city. The houses are not too big. She said, I will take anybody, everyone you want. And she really took us. And we went to her home, and truly she had a beautiful house. The next day, of course, I still asking, I know God is there. I said, well, I need a job. I need a second clothes. Everything was burned out in my family. I need a second clothes. I need to fix my hair. I have shoes. I need shoes. Something have to happen. So I'm asking you, Almighty, I have mate in the bathroom. Find me a job. And every night I would just think about that and really start to get ready for the job. Because when you ask, I have learned a lot about trusting. We ask God for something, and the next day we start to complain about it, that we're not getting it. And He's there like, did you ask me yesterday? You complaining about it today? You can't even trust me for one day. And I think that was a challenge for me, like, I trust you. I put my trust in you. So the next day, I remember when I was asking, I found out that the United Nations office was next door to that home. And for me, I was like, okay, I think you put me here. I don't have money to take a taxi. I have to go to look for a job in that office. And I started to go to United Nations office every morning to look for a job. Anytime I go there, they will look at me like, we don't have a job. Maybe because of how I looked. And when I went back home, something would tell me, if you trust God, do not give up. You know you don't have any money to look for any other job, go back to the same office. And if He wants it, you will get it. And I would get up and pray my rosary and go back again. And I went back and back and back. I went to that office 8 times. The last time, of course, I'm a human being. The last time I swear I was going there, I told myself, and I told God in my heart, you know what? I think this is the last time I'm going there. Maybe I'm pushing it, maybe I'm just being a person. But if you don't want me to find a job there, just give me a little sign. I'm sure you have many ways. But if you want me there, give me a sign today too, because I'm warning you, I'm not going back. I went for the last time. God is great. As I was planning to never go back to that office, somebody happened to open the door up to the chief of personnel, the 12th floor, I remember. And I went to the office. This is a month after the genocide. I'm still just the same clothes. And when I went to the office, and this guy told me that there's no job, and I thought, okay, he must know that there's no job. And I was really leaving. I was kind of mad in my heart, like, my goodness, I thought God would find a way to help me out, at least to show me that He's still there. And I was going downstairs, and I described a lot in my second book, Led by Faith, about many little faith, how faith can play out in each one, in our lives. And I'm going downstairs, I'm crying, I'm like, where is God? Where are you now? When I was going downstairs, somebody passed me running, and he ran right back after me. And he's calling me in French, like, arrête, arrête, which means stop, stop. And I stopped, and my tears, I'm ashamed of myself. But something is like, what tears have to do with anything? I mean, if he looks at you, you're crying, so what? A genocide can happen. You know how we can worry about small things? Like, oh, what is he going to think about me? And then I just accepted, okay, I'm crying, so. And I looked at him, I said, he asked me, he said, no, he didn't even ask me, how are you? He said, what are you looking for? I told him, I'm looking for a job. And then he said, have you met the chief of personnel? I said, yes, I did. And what did he say? I told him, he said there's no job. How God works. That guy gave me a paper with his name, his title, his office number, and he told me, show this to the gate tomorrow, and they will let you come to my office and come to see me at 10 o'clock. And I'm looking at him, who are you? And why do you want me to come to see you? And, but I told myself, I'm praying for this, who knows? I went home, I came back the next day, 10 o'clock, they let me go in. That person, by the way, was the spokesman of United Nations in the whole country in Rwanda, almost like a president by the time. He was the spokesman in Burundi, in the next country of United Nations too, in Congo, in the whole really countries around my country. I remember when I told the handicapped lady who gave me that a home to stay in, she said, how did you meet him? There's no way you can meet him by accident, because normally you have bodyguards. I said, it must be God who introduced me. So anyway, I met him in his office the next day. He looked at me. I told him what happened. And he was such a good person. He said, I won't give you any money, but I will find you a job. And I told him it is all I needed. And a week later, I started to work with United Nations. That guy, the way he stopped me, he confused me with somebody who was killed during the genocide. And he told me, he said, I was running behind you thinking this is Pascaline because from the back you look alike. And when you turn around and you are crying, of course you were a child, you were not like her. But when I saw your tears, I didn't know if I should tell you that I confused you with a dead person. Then I just felt like, let me ask her what she's looking for. And then he said, now that you tell me your situation, what can I do? How can I tell you, like, yeah, go home, I confused you. And he helped me to get a job. And I have got many great jobs after that. But I really tell people, just to let them know, no matter how bad it can be, no matter how the bottom you can hit, God is real. And if you really hold on to that hope, anything is possible. And I go through hurt to this day. I'm not protected, overprotected. I go through tears. But I always remember that God was there then. He must be here today. We are still in this world. And that protects you from crushing, from carrying that pain that follows you. And many great things have been happening. When I was working at the UN, I went back to the prison and I met the prisoner. And I was able to extend him the forgiveness. And this man who was such a good guy before and very respected, and all of a sudden he's in a prison. He's dirty and his foot are swelling. And what can you tell to this person? And I thought like his ignorance and what he have done is so different from my situation, my anger, my losing my parents. And really I extended him forgiveness because I thought it was so different from where I was. And I just wanted to tell him, find a way to at least to regret what you have done. I hope you can tell your child when they come to visit you that you have done wrong. They should never do what you have done. And I remember when I extended him forgiveness, and a guy who was there, and he was the head of the jail, he was so mad at me. He's like, how dare to forgive a killer? And to me it was, that was just what was in my heart. I wasn't trying to forgive. It's because of what I have lived through the struggle of forgiveness. And I told him, if I'm one Tutsi who is forgiving, that's not too bad. If the whole world is much better, not forgiving, and it is the right thing to do, at least we'll go on. And I didn't want to see him ever again because I thought I was weak. And a year later, this man who had lost his 7 children and his wife He came to find me at the UN, and he wanted to have tea with me, and he said, "You don't know what you did to me. You changed my life." I'm like, "What? What did I do? I know you are mad at me, I'm sorry, but that is how I felt." He said, "No, stop that." He said, "When you forgive that man, that's when I realized that it was even possible to think about forgiving." He shared with me how he had been beating the prisoners. He had been beating them every morning to ease his pain, to ease up his pain. And he said every morning I had even more anger. I thought I would die because they were there just waiting for me to come and beat them. But when you told him you forgave him, I thought that that was my resurrection too. Now I can let go of that and try to teach them more than hurting them. And then I can think about my family. I mean, having maybe a new family, because he thought his life was over. And really it is him who made me realize, oh my God, that was not all that bad. And that's really what made me write the story in my book, to share with the world that it was possible. And that grace of God, which I think was beyond my strength, can help our world heal and continue to, again, justice to go on. So many good things happen in my life today, and I have 2 children. They're so beautiful. They remind me that, that pure love is possible. And they know what happened. They cry, they hug me. It's such a beautiful thing to see that no matter what you can go through again, you can still have these angels, loving you. I remember when I was publishing my book, and that is, again, like another miracle. I didn't know how to publish a book. I was such ignorant in everything. I just work at the United Nations again in New York, where I live. And I don't know, I just feel like I have a story I want to share with the world. I wanted to see the book in Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, but how do you get there? Only God knew. And I remember something told me, why don't you just go back again and try to have those conversations in your heart and ask God to help you and have the courage and finish it. And I started to write. It was like an obsession. The first draft took me 3 weeks. Tears and crying, and sometimes I would feel like no one would ever read it. And then I would really pour out every little emotions. After that, it took me another 3 months to reread the book. And I remember, as always, as you would see when you have any project, there's always that little discouraging mind, like, don't do it, leave it. You will never be able to publish. You're from Africa, who cares about you? Who is going to invest in any person like you? And that little voice will say, just trust in God. Do your part and let him do his part. Finish what you have to finish, let him do his part. So I went through the book and I wrote and I finished, I remember well, I finished it March 31st, 2005. I was like, crying and writing letters to God and sending him emails. I know, they come back, of course. But he doesn't fail to answer. He does not fail to answer. In one way or another, he will find a way to answer an email. Unknown. So anyway, 3 days after I have just finished the book, I was writing and I was begging, God, just do something about this. Please show me that I'm a human being like everybody, which we all are. 3 days after, I just come in a workshop maybe like this, and where there's so many people, and there is a speaker who was speaking a lot about love and kindness and being fearless. I'm like, oh, this is nice. So I went outside and I saw this man who is standing up there, and I saw like 300 people online going to him. Isn't it nice how God can use your own ignorance? And I just thought to myself, like, okay, people are online saying hi to somebody. I don't even know who is that person behind the line, but they must have a good reason. So let me join the people and I will know when I get there. Just like that, not thinking of anything. I'm like, I have my time here. And then I joined the line. I'm there just like thinking about a million things. And as I was about to reach this man, who was such a kind of person, like 10 people, I realized that everyone had a book he's signing. And of course, I don't know what he writes about. But I want to look like everybody. Human nature. I went back and bought the book, and I just grabbed it quick, $25, and went back online, and now I look like everybody. I feel good. So when I got to him and he signed the book, he handed it to me. I was hoping he doesn't ask me why I chose that one. And he handed it to me, and I was about to leave, and he pulled me back, and he's like, "How are you?" I say, "I'm fine." He's like, "Oh, where'd that accent come from?" I'm like, "I don't have an accent." What accent are you talking about? You know, when you work in the United Nations with 100 nationalities, you don't know who has an accent and who doesn't. So for me, I was really sincere, like, "Hey, I don't have an accent." Anyway, I told him I'm from Rwanda, and then he looked at me, like, opened his eyes. He's like, "Do you know what happened there?" I said, "Yeah, I heard about that." Anyway, I told him, "Yeah, I know about it." And then he said, "Oh, that was bad." I'm like, "Yeah, it was horrible." I'm about to leave again. He pulled me back. He's like, "So you're from Rwanda. Are you a Tutsi or are you a Hutu?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a Tutsi." And I'm about to go pick, like 200 people are waiting for him again. He's like, "So, no, come back. Were you there or were you here?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm going to go into the long conversation." I say, I was there." "So what happened to you? Where is your parents? Where is your siblings?" I said, "They died." I said, "What?" You know, he asked me, like, "Tell me a little bit of what happened." And now people are making a circle around us. I said, "Well, I was hiding. God is great. Everything happened. We all died at the end of the, life, but, I'm okay." And, my parents died, my brothers, but I am really okay, and I thank God. I remember he asked me, he's like, again, opened his eyes, he said, "You are still talking about God after what happened to you?" I'm like, "Yeah, if I wasn't talking about him, I don't know what would happen to me today." And then he opened his eyes again, he said, "Have you thought about writing a book?" Nobody have ever asked me that question. All the time I was struggling, writing for months, being discouraged. Now I finished it 3 days after. Somebody is asking me, and again I'm like, "Who are you?" He said, "Have you thought about writing a book?" I couldn't tell him, "Yeah, I have it, 3 days ago, this is it." I couldn't talk. I started, I thought about it. He's in front of everybody, he said, "I promise, when you finish writing your book, I will publish it." Just like, oh my God, what happened to me here? It was just an answer to the prayer. Even if it did not happen, just to realize that a dream can come true. Then it just holds you on. It makes you feel like you can be free in this world and know that what you dream about can happen. It's the best gift ever, to know that there's no obstacles. Then you can wish everyone blessings because there is enough in the world. I'm no more jealous. Why thinking that another one have more when you can get it? There is a way to get it. It was just like, oh my God. Anyway, to make long story short, the man went home to Maui, that's where he lives. His name is Wendell, by the way. He have written like 40 books. The best person to be in front of if you are trying to publish a book. He went back to his home and we started to communicate, and he was and one great thing he gave me more than any publishing the book, just was somebody to look at you and tell you you are worth it. You are a person just like everybody, and you have a purpose. God left you for a reason. You went through that for a reason. It was almost like that can just be enough for somebody to give you his love and tell you that you are a person like anybody. And God is going to use your story to touch the world. That is why. He did not give it to you to be depressed, to cry over what you went through. It's to share and to help another person. And like he said, at the end, we'll all be in heaven. But right here, your story is needed. I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. He was like, your book is going to be New York Times bestseller. I'm like, what is that? He's like, and you're going to be an opera? I'm like, I know about that. I'm just so excited. That one, I know about it. 8 months later, the book was out. I fasted for 6 months. I love meat, and I didn't eat meat for 6 months. And anytime I looked at the meal and I see meat, it was a reminder that you are praying for your book to touch the world, to come out and be safe. So don't touch that. For 6 months, I was fasting, I was praying, and the book came out, the first book, and 2 weeks after, it was New York Times bestseller. To that, oh, thank you. Thank you. To that day, I did not still even know what it meant to be New York Times bestseller. Besides, people were congratulating me. And I remember I called my friend Wayne Dyer on my way. I said, okay, I remember you told me this, but you have to explain to me now. What does this mean, New York Times bestseller? I thought it was because I live in New York, but I guess it's beyond that now. It's funny, he said, just wait until you get your first check. You will know what it means. A very funny person, by the way, but the book has been a blessing to my family, to myself. A year after, it was translated in 15 languages. It was like something I never thought about, and it has been a blessing, and I have a foundation, Left to Tell, and helps orphans in Rwanda, hoping to help orphans in the world, around the world, and have just been a blessing to so much. And the proceeds goes to help the orphans in Rwanda. We still have a lot of work to do, and those actually who would like to just know more about it, you can visit our website, www.immaculée.com. Then you will know what we do, and we're trying just to give a hand and to do a little, to put those little seed of love. I never forgot, one day I went to Toronto and they were celebrating the Diary of Immaculée, my documentary. And, I've been in the bathroom going to die in a second. I forgot to share this with the students this morning. They would have enjoyed it. And I went to the film festival and they honored my documentary and they gave me an award. Again, thanks to God, and really all glory goes to Him, because everything, standing here, it is Him making me stand here with nothing, none of my effort. So, and I remember this, I came out of the place and there's all these stars in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this is Demi Moore, this is Brad Pitt, this is. I see them now in my face, and it's almost like God has a way of to tickle us. He has a way of making us smile. Not that those things matters, but we are human beings. You see people on TV and all of a sudden you see them in your face. It's like, God, do you want me to make me smile? Just like to have me in the bathroom and now I'm standing in front of these people. And I remember this man, Brad Pitt, came to me and he said, he's such a nice guy, by the way. Very handsome, yes, it is true. But the best thing about him, he has a good heart. And he came to me and he looking at me, he's like, I am so sorry for what happened to you. He was like in tears. And I'm like, I'm screaming. I'm like, oh my God, this is Brad Pitt. I can't believe I met you. He's like, no, I mean it. I can't believe what happened. I'm so sorry. I'm like, forget about that. Let's talk about you. This excitement, like, what's going on here? But, like I said, it is God have a sense of humor. I know it doesn't mean much, but it was just like, what is this? And the journalists who were there, they were making jokes, taking pictures and the camera and stuff. They were like, who lived the genocide between you and Brad Pitt? You are happy and he's sad, and what's going on here? It was just a funny thing. And I thank God and I thank you so much. And when the guy who introduced my book to the world, who introduced my story, and now the second book, Led by Faith, and he always told me, if you are confronted, he became a really good mentor to me. He said, if you are confronted in life between choosing to be kind and to be right, always choose to be kind. It matters more than just being right. And that I leave it with you. Thank you so much for listening to my story. And I love you too.
Killing. I just the other day was listening to this thing, war. What's the purpose of war? To have peace. Why don't we just work for peace and then get rid of the war? Her very good question is what can we do to work for peace?
I wish I had a straight answer, like, let's do it, you know? Yeah, I would ask the same questions, you know, why can't we do it? But, you know, like Gandhi said, that's within by one person, I hope and I think we can accomplish it. We just do what we can reach, how far we can go from within ourselves, and we can change and help a person around us, and who knows how big it can go. Like I was saying, I truly believe that those little seed of love, of trying and starting something, you never know how big it will go. But it's just trying, I think, yeah. But it is not easy to think, why can't we just do it? Why million people have to die out of people who really have a heart, who knows that wrong and hurting people is bad. Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to add this because you were speaking, you said the propaganda of hatred. There we go. We're hearing hatred. You know, you get what you look for. You know, we had the hatred that killed your people. How about let's looking for the love and the peace to do the to counteract the hatred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good comments and questions, though, and I truly believe that if we make it our responsibility, each one, to try how hard you can try to reach out to love, and we can do it. Yeah, hope.
Immaculée, what happened to the other 7 people at the bathroom?
His question is, what happened to the other 7 people in the bathroom?
One of the ladies died a year ago, and actually even the pastor was hiding as he died last year. And the rest of them are all live in Rwanda. And the younger one, who was 7 years old, she is now 23 years old, and she kind of lost her mind a little bit. Not bad, like going crazy, but she definitely going through a hard time, and she couldn't remember anything. She can't remember me, she can't remember anybody who was there. She just remembers separating her father before she went to the bathroom, and that's where she remembers things. She can't learn anything, and yeah, that's the sad part. Others are all there, they are okay, doing well. My foundation is helping three of them to go back to school, so we're just trying, but yes.
Stand up if you... The question is, how did the man that she forgave for killing her family, how did he accept that?
When I told him in the prison, I wasn't really expecting anything from him to happen. I just wanted to extend it to him. It was a situation that, you know, to face me alone was enough for him. But I think he did accept it in some ways, and he did something inside him. I remember when I told him I forgave him, before he was more like angry, you know, like just really standing up for himself, and so what? And when I told him I forgave him, I remember he touched his head and he couldn't look at me anymore. Before he wasn't looking at me much, but I can feel the attitude in his behavior. But he looked down, and I remember he told me he killed them and he took stuff from the house. So he had one machine he have took from the house, which was machine that was making powder from the grains, and which a huge machine that had a whole room just for that machine. So he gave me a paper, and he wrote to his children to get it back to me. And then he told me, he said, I took it for you, I kept it for you. Yeah, and he was outside of the bathroom where I was hiding. I heard his voice saying that actually it is my body he can't find. So I knew it, but I knew his way of trying to reach out or to even tell me thank you was to find the words to really save his face. He said, I kept it for you. I said, thank you.
One last. What was your physical recovery process? What was that like?
The question is to describe your physical recovery process.
Wow. Yeah, I have had that question many times. But I guess when you don't know things, how to do, and they just happen to you, God has a natural way of helping. When we came out as I was in the camp, now I understand maybe I had to go through the camp, even if I was sleeping on the ground, and that was a necessity. We were not eating before. I was just like a skeleton. And I remember the doctors who were coming to see us in the camp, they told me that I want to be able to live and be okay. And they said, you will have all kinds of sicknesses. And I remember I took back, like, I'm not going to have those sicknesses. God is not going to allow it to happen, And but he told me, he said, like, you can't recover, you can't put on weight and be normal. It was scary, but again, I was like, no, in the name of God, it's not going to happen. So what happened the first 3 weeks when we were in the camp? We were drinking powdered milk with water because they didn't have food to feed us. We're just eating crackers. We're eating like stuff from the, soups. They just mixed, but it was more like really eating like milk a lot of powdered milk and just water. So like you said, now that I think about it, maybe that was necessary to pass through those 3 weeks to recover before I go to a home and start eating food. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's it. We will be having a reception in the lobby with refreshments, and Immaculée will be signing books for an hour. Pardon? Okay, and she has a comment.
One comment I want to say, I know people, maybe some of you have the same question. Rwanda is doing well today. Yeah, it's just beautiful to see things that have been happening, and the leaders of today, they are very strict with the law, they are very strict with crime. Many people I take from here to Rwanda, they say that they think they feel more safe in Rwanda than they feel in New York. So many people again describe it as the most peaceful country today in Africa. There's no corruption, they're very strict with the law. In Rwanda today, if you abuse a child, it's lifetime prison. So, thank you. They don't tolerate any way of like abusing another person in any way at all. So I think, I hope, and many people say this country is going to be an example for the whole world maybe after what happened to it. And they are doing, many little groups of reconciliation, people coming to understand. I mean, you go there, you still discuss about the genocide as though it happened yesterday. It is so fresh in the country. And sometimes I take groups there. I have been taking small groups, like 3-4 people, like friends, but maybe I will start to take like many people. Again, if you visit the website, we will put programs, how things are going, and Immaculée.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a minute. Okay, let's give Immaculée a final thank you.